The story opens with a narrator describing the legend of the Forgotten Village, a settlement that mysteriously vanished centuries ago. It was said that those who ventured too close would never return, and the village itself was erased from every map. The story follows a group of urban explorers, Sophie, Chris, and Ben, who decide to find the village after hearing rumors of it from an old journal. The explorers hike through a dense forest. Sophie leads the group with the map, but the path feels unnatural, as if they are being watched. The air grows colder as the trees grow denser, and the normal sounds of wildlife fade away. They begin to notice strange symbols carved into the trees, which only adds to the tension. As night falls, the group hears strange whispering voices coming from deep within the forest. Chris goes ahead to investigate, but when Sophie and Ben reach the clearing where he was last seen, there is no sign of him. Only his flashlight lies on the ground, flickering ominously. They call out, but all that returns is an eerie silence. The remaining explorers push on, desperate to find Chris. After hours of wandering, they stumble upon an overgrown path that leads to a small, abandoned village. The houses are covered in vines, and a heavy mist clings to the ground. The air is thick with a sense of dread, and the place feels strangely frozen in time. Sophie and Ben enter the village, but they quickly notice something unsettling. There are no signs of life, yet the sound of a bell ringing fills the air, coming from an unknown source. The ringing echoes through the village, growing louder and more frantic as they walk further in. They decide to investigate the bell tower, which seems to stand at the center of the village. Upon entering the bell tower, they discover a room full of old portraits, all featuring the same people. Locals from the village, staring lifelessly at the camera. Their faces are pale and distorted, as if they've been trapped in time. Suddenly, a cold wind sweeps through the tower, and the faces in the portraits begin to move, whispering their names. Ben is separated from Sophie as they continue to explore. Sophie hears a rustling sound behind her and turns to see a shadowy figure standing in the distance. The figure is tall, with glowing eyes, and its form seems to shimmer and fade in and out of existence. Sophie calls out for Ben, but the figure steps forward, blocking her path. Sophie discovers an old stone altar at the center of the village, surrounded by strange markings. It becomes clear that the village was once part of an ancient ritual to bind an evil force, trapping its spirits and souls within the village forever. As Sophie digs deeper into the mystery, she uncovers a chilling truth. The villagers never left. Their souls are still bound to the land, living in perpetual torment. Ben, still searching for answers, finds Chris deep within the village, but he is no longer the person Sophie and Ben knew. Chris is pale, his eyes empty, and his body stiff. He claims that the village has claimed him, and that they can never leave. His voice is not his own, echoing with multiple whispers as he tells them the curse is inescapable. Sophie and Ben try to escape, but the village itself seems to be alive, shifting and changing. The ground trembles, and the air is thick with a suffocating force. As they race toward the forest, the village's ghosts rise from the ground, their faces contorted in agony. Sophie is dragged back toward the altar, and Ben manages to break free from the spirits and reaches the altar, where he performs a ritual from the old journal. He sacrifices a piece of his own soul to break the curse. The spirits wail in agony as the village begins to crumble, its cursed foundation falling apart. As the sun rises, the village disappears completely, leaving only the forest behind. The video ends with a closing narration. The forgotten village may be gone, but its curse remains, lingering in the shadows. If you hear the bells toll, know that the village is calling once again. The camera zooms in on a faded ancient bell in the distance, now ringing softly.